for some other people who are coming through from the other session, but we'll go for it. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome. A few people coming in. So the next session that we've got, which is the final one in this stage for today, is about empowering your workforce, equipping people with the right technology. And I think this is just a really interesting session that we need to think about in our organisations, because how it was when I started working a long time ago. You walked into the office, you got a chair, a desk if you were lucky. You got in my case, it was a visual display unit on the screen that connected to their central computer. I got a telephone. I got the keys to the stationery cupboard so I could get myself a notepad and a pen and probably some paper clips. I don't know whatever happened to paper clips in our world, but that was the kind of thing that I got. I could print to one printer in the middle of the office, and I had to go and sort out where my stuff was coming from that printer, and it all got mixed in with everyone else's. And that was how it worked. There was no choice. I fired up the computer and I got a standard set of applications, and I couldn't go and buy and load anything I wanted. I just had to use what was given to me. And that's how it was for a long time. But then as people became more familiar with technology, and as things moved on, we come up towards to the present day, where people just know what they need to do their job. And if we don't give them what they need to do their job, they probably go and buy it themselves. I do a lot of work with schools, and you'll find in a lot of private schools that the kids have got far better computers than any of the staff can ever dream of having. And certainly, they are the ones who are leading the technology in that place. So I couldn't remember where to look then. Mobile phones as well. Never have thought they didn't exist when I started working. And now that's where my email's being delivered to. That's where my chat messages are being delivered to. That's an integral part of the ecosystem that I'm using as someone who's working for Cascade. I have to keep looking over my shoulder still to remember who I work for nowadays. Also, I wouldn't have had a headset. I wouldn't have had a microphone. We went through a whole period where we were talking about video conferencing. Let's set up a video conferencing link between our two offices, and you would go to a room and you would sit in that room, and that had the camera and that had the ISDN connections, and that was something that was very special, and you had to book it, and the management got priority to use it. Nowadays we can do that from wherever we are. So we have those peripherals in place. We own those peripherals, and we use those peripherals to support Microsoft Teams interactive meetings, or other versions are available. We also have things like, people would want their own keyboard. They want the nice shape of keyboard that they like. They want a number pad that works really well, those kind of things. And that's how it's become. And then that was further impacted by this whole flexible working things. All of a sudden, I wasn't going to my office to use stuff. I was actually staying at home some days. Some days I was sitting in a coffee shop. Some days I was on the train, and I want to make use of that time. And so this whole flexible piece, a working piece, came in. Now, in the old days, it was easy for the IT department to deliver the IT to us because it was fairly static. They could lock everything down. They could control everything. And it just made it very easy for them to do that piece. Now, your IT, wherever it is, if it's my phone in my back pocket, it's part of the attack surface that hackers can get to as well. So we need to make sure that every bit that's involved in our IT is secure, and is a secure part of the organization, and falls under the umbrella of security within what we're doing. And there's challenges with letting people do what they want to do. Everyone would like to go and buy their own computer, or get the company to buy them a nice computer, get them the latest headset, get them the latest phone, and allow them to use all of that technology themselves. And we have all of these acronyms that come up. You've got your bring your own device. You've got choose your own device. You've got, I've never heard of these until I Googled this the other day. Got COPE. Has anyone ever heard of that before? It's like company owned, personally enabled. So that means the company owns it, but it lets you use it for your own personal purposes, as well as the company ones. Then you've got company owned, business only. And that's those people you see wandering around with 3 phones because they got one to talk to the business on, one to talk to their friends on, and one to talk to the wife on. So you've got that, you get people whose pockets need to be twice the size of what they usually were. So there's lots of people who would like to offer an open relationship, that's not the word I'm looking for, an open approach to delivering IT devices to their employees, but it's not really possible because there's lots of disadvantages with all of those approaches that we talked at. How do we manage the budget if we're going to let people go and buy stuff? How do we manage that kind of ownership issue? Is like, it's my own personal mobile phone, I'm not letting my work email come on it. That's a constant challenge that we get. How do I make sure that that device is patched from a security point of view so that it's secure to the level that I want to allow it to before it'll let it come into my organization's Microsoft 365 ecosystem? How do I manage security on that? What stops someone leaving their mobile phone on the train with no PIN number on it and someone can pick that up and instantly access my, the email that my organization is responsible for managing? How do I manage device compliance? How do I make sure that the person's got the genuine copy of iOS on it or a locked-down version of Android on it so that that's not a weak point in my attack surface? And at the same time as doing that, how on earth do I manage to get the best deal on some PCs? In the old days, you'd say, I want 50 laptops, give me your best price. And you'd buy them all. You say, oh, is it Dell? Is it Lenovo? Is it any other brand that you can think of? And people would go and negotiate a good deal. We can't do that if we're letting people choose what they want. So these are some of the challenges that we have with that open approach. We want people to be effective in our business, and we want to enable them to use the IT effectively. We want them to make the most of the latest technology, but we need to remain a level of control over that. And one approach that we see, which is the approach that we use with our clients, is to think about different personas. Now, sorry, I'm spitting now. I had too much to, not enough to drink earlier. Excuse me. So we think about different personas. Personas is a concept that came from the marketing world. When we're talking about market segmentation, which is what marketeers like to do, we like to group people together into groups of people with similar characteristics. And that's what we do with personas. So we start to build personas out within the organization, and then we think about what IT needs, requirements they have. So it's really kind of just thinking about the different types of people in our organization. I've listed some standard kind of ones there that we would look at. But this is the kind of thing we would then do. We would then create little pictures of people, and often in marketing they like to give them names. So we've got Sarah, who's a marketing manager. She works hybrid in the UK. She needs a laptop, a mobile and a tablet. She's got a certain set of applications that are relevant to her role that we're going to deliver to her. So we build that group of people. And then we would do another group of personas, maybe for the senior financial team, who will have different requirements. They might need a more powerful laptop. They might need a bigger screen when they're at home because they're working with big figures. We can then break those into different personas. And this is an approach that we see used across all kinds of organizations. And this is actually an approach that Dell use, which is why I asked Rob to come along and talk to us a little bit about how Dell deliver this piece of the jigsaw.
Thank you, Anthony. Is that on? Good. Good afternoon, everybody. Rob Rance. So I'm just shy of 9 years inside Dell, where I've been looking after the PC and laptop business for our UK channel. So work across pretty much every vertical there is going on the planet and do a lot of traveling. Thank you for my invite today. As you know, Dell have been around for a while, and we have been utilizing personas in our own business for the best part of 6 years. We've even adopted it ourselves, and I want to talk a little bit around that today in relation to not just the technology stack, but also how we are developing what we're calling the illusion of choice to our customers and their user base.
I'll just say, Rob,
I
did my best because I spoke to Rob earlier in the week, and he used this phrase, the illusion of choice. I absolutely love it. I've used it in most conversations I've had since, but I did say today I wouldn't steal his thunder with that phrase, but I just absolutely love that. You know, the illusion of choice that we as IT professionals can give to our users. You've got all the choice in the world as long as it's these 3 laptops. I absolutely love it.
But it is 3.
It is 3, always 3.
Very, very quickly, though, just to talk after the pandemic, Dell CSG, so Client Solutions Group, had to kind of reinvent itself and come up with some sort of core pillars in relation to how we're going to drive our own business globally. So with Connected, it's not just about the connected technology, so where you can plug into an Ethernet and utilize your WWAN to double your speed to pull down a large presentation should you want to. It's also talking around the peripherals, right? So when we go out to personify an end user, where the surveys have changed dramatically. It's not just about where you're working in relation to office or floor level and this, that, and the other. It's actually, right, when you're at home, are you in a flat? Have you got a study? Have you got a shed out the back? And it's then talking around those connected peripherals to bring up the productivity of that user, right? With continuous workflow, that is incorporating our movements around our workplaces, whether we're in a coffee shop, when we're at home, quick connectivity, quick fire up. Our good friends of Apple over the years have kind of won that dream of open it up and it works, right? And everyone's with a heavier OS, tends to take a little bit longer. So from a technology standpoint, we are accelerating that boot up time as best we can with some really exciting things to come in June, July next year, which unfortunately due to certain laws and me losing my job, I can't talk about just yet. But do reach out to the guys here around probably May time, and they should have some pretty exciting news that we're going to add to the portfolio next year. Collaboration is king, right? How do we, as an IT department or an IT reseller, ensure our employees feel like they're in the office when they're not? So we've expanded our home user collaborative screens with built-in cameras and privacy screens, hubs built in, so the whole discussion around docking. What are we using docking for? Now that I've got Ethernet in and I've got power watt of 90 watt out from a screen. Meeting spaces. When we left the pandemic, it was, I'm not going back. No, come back for 1 day a week. Oh, no, go back home again. Then it was 2 days a week. It's averaging out around 3, okay? So our meeting spaces become really, really king. So we need to make sure that they're seamlessly managed by IT and not a headache. So ours is powered by a small desktop, which IT owns, so it's fully secure. And conscientious balance, okay? That's not, from a Dell perspective, just about sustainable devices, as we close those loops of unusable plastics and metals. It's also our supply chain. It's, if you don't do things right by Dell, you don't work with Dell. It's incorporating me as an employee, right? So I join groups and I work and talk to local schools and charities and, and things like that as an employee as Dell. That's our mandate to do so. So all of this can be combined into your own sustainable messaging, right? You can adopt ours, you can utilize it, and so on and so forth. From a technical standpoint, if you haven't seen something called Luna, L-U-N-A, have a Google. It's pretty impressive stuff. It's still a concept, but it's 18 months old. What Luna will bring to the table is a redefined built laptop, where every single component can be removed. My colleague can do it in 45 seconds. That's screen included. Everything will become modular over the course of several years, because there's a lot of other people that need to be involved. But some of those modular pieces are coming into our chassis next year in the Latitude range. Some of the other targets that we've hit early, so from a conscientious balance perspective, we had a target of 100% recycled or recyclable packaging. We hit that last year. That goal was for 2025. So we're 2 years ahead of schedule, which is great. So good, great messaging for you as end users and so on and so forth. When we wrap things around the desk from an IT department, it's generally the only touch we have with our customers, i.e. users. So getting their opinion, making them feel wanted in that choice. How do we attract talent? How do we keep that talent so we don't lose somebody because someone's giving out a nicer device down the road, or don't give the illusion of choice that they can actually pick up and go what they want and where they want to their right environment. For instance, it was about 3 years ago, I was talking to Sky, and Lenovo, bless their hearts, beat us to the table. They brought out a little 14-inch compatible secondary screen. We now have one. We're on our second model. There isn't one out in the stand today. It's simple Type-C. So you can have a secondary 14-inch screen next to your laptop. So for me, for instance, I live in a two-bed flat. Fantastic. You know, I want to pack up because I've got my kids for the weekend for dinner. I'm closing a laptop, I'm folding a screen, I put my stuff away. Okay, so again, just giving those users that choice around the technology that's available today. What do Dell personas look like? They've evolved. So down the bottom there on the screen, you'll see the old terminologies. Do ignore the terminologies. They are a bit American. Apologies for that. On the go, corridor warrior, and so on and so forth. But we redefine those since coming out of COVID into builder, connector, specialist, and producer. The definition behind these and the assistance that Dell can bring in collaboration with Cascade, I had to look as well, they have access to our specialists that can come and personify your business or your customer's business. You know, there's obviously there's normal chat around Dell does everything direct and this, that, and the other. 56% of our business in the UK goes through partners from a CSG perspective. And there's an enormous amount of support that we can give through different pockets of funding, through our friends at Microsoft. We can do accelerator workshops around Windows 11. So next year, it looks very much around what does modern management look like and how do I get to Windows 11? Because obviously Windows 10 is going to expire. We talked about Dell eating its own medicine. So as an employee, the little catalog bundle there you can see, I will have been personified by Dell IT. They send out to a random number of employees around the world a quick 2-minute survey of what we think is right, what's wrong with our own kit, accessories, and so on and so forth. When I'm doing my refresh, I simply log in to the Dell portal. It will show me the 1 or 2 devices that I can see. It will show me the peripherals that are associated with my job role. And I can then simply press click, and go. That's then built, linked into our Intune Azure Stacks, and I power it up, and it says, "Hi, Rob Rance, good to see you," and then pulls down my profile. Again, a lot of that can be done at factory, and there's no cost to a ready image if you're into Intune already. Just to broaden out what else we can do. This can all be designed and given access to you as a customer or a partner to give to your customer and manage. When we talk about manageability, with the world moving to sort of a cloud base with Intune and so on and so forth, in the coming months, we've got a product called Dell Client Command Suite. Any salesmen or sales ladies in the room will hate me for this. It's free. You can manage your Dell estate free of charge by utilizing, for instance, Command Update. What that does is it goes off to the Dell servers and it says, right, your BIOS is 1 version out. It will harvest the CAD files. You tell it when to deploy. All right. It does plug into SCCM, and in about 2 months' time, there will be a plugin for Intune. We'll be the only OEM with that feature. So we're trying to make that much easier to manage our devices. And there's some really, really cool stuff coming down the line where we've listened to customers who want single pane of glass for manageability and support. So we're creating that over a period of time. Some of the additional features that I have available to you from us and with our partners, I've mentioned it already with around accelerator workshops. So we can come in and talk how to get you from 10 to 11. There is pockets and pockets of money at the moment available to anybody that wants to get from 10 to 11. So if you don't know about them, give Cascade a call. They can work with us. We can do it on our sites. We can do it on their sites. We can do it on customer sites. We've also got things like the persona assessment where you can go right into it, where we put Let's Sync in, and we'll look at the power ratios. We'll look at what users are using, what applications. And you might even find out, and this has happened on numerous occasions, that customers have got apps that aren't even being used, but they're paying for them. That still happens today. Any questions so far?
All very clear, Rob.
I think the biggest thing for me, the ask is, if you're not utilizing some of the free stuff that can come from the OEM, us at Dell, to help you support your customers, just ask. If you're not aware of the resources and where they are, just ask. When I first joined with Dell, just under 9 years ago, we were very, very bad at sharing information. Some would say some parts still are. However, there is so much stuff online available to you, white papers that you can kind of pull through, free resources in sustainable and what we're up to, you know, how we're putting solar cabinets in Africa villages and providing free IT. There's all this good stuff going on that not a lot of people know about. So I think if you've ever got a question, just ask, and then the guys at Cascade can reach out to Brendan. He's in the other room as their account manager. There is oodles of resource behind them to help you out.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Are there any questions about this whole subject before we move on? I'll just summarize on this. So, a couple of things I was going to say. Just take advantage while you're here of going to the Dell stand and the other stands in the exhibition area and looking at the kit they've got there. The biggest problem we have as IT people sometimes is that the kit gets advertised in the Times. On the Monday morning, the managing director comes in and says, I want one of those. It's a good idea to actually go and see stuff. Laptops and things like that and headsets, everything is almost like a lifestyle choice. It's like people want the one that they think they're going to look best in or is going to look best on the desk. We had a project once we did with one of the big financial companies in Bristol, and one of the key drivers there was that we were going to try and get everything the same. We want to get everything on the same version of Windows. The problem was the senior management team who ran the business said, we want Macs, and they all wanted Macs. And we had to work out ways to manage those things alongside what we're doing at the moment. So there is still power in the user choice. So take advantage of going and have a look at the different options available there. Headsets, this is one of my little gripes. I work at home quite a lot. I use a Poly headset that works really well. No, people can't hear my calls. My wife works for the NHS. She's sat in the dining room where she will not use a headset. She makes me creep around the house when she's on a call in case I make some noise in the background. And she gets really upset with me when I go and get some out of the dishwasher and I need another coffee while she's on the phone to someone because she's got no voice cancelling. The worst thing ever for that is AirPods because it's delivering it into your ear, but hardly any voice cancelling. The best conversation you get with anyone is when on the AirPods is that you can hear the person sat next to them better than you can hear them, which is terrible. So headsets are a real thing that you ought to be looking at, making sure people have got a headset that they're happy to use because it just increases the quality of the communication that they can do. Screens with built-in USB connections, power connections, can make a desk, and make a hot desk especially, a joy to work with. I've got to say that at Cascade, it's terrible. When I get in the morning, someone's nicked the dongle for the keyboard that I always use out of the desktop, off the docking station. I have to go and scrabble under the desk to find the power adapter that I need to use. And somebody's done a really good attempt with a load of Velcro stuff to try and tidy it up. But the cable I want is always the one they've left on the floor. So yeah, think about that. Think about your users. Think about giving them the flexibility. Think about giving them that, what's the phrase I can't remember now? Illusion of choice. And think about the personas that you need in place. And we can certainly help with all of those aspects. The back end to that is really Intune. Think about deploying Intune to manage your environment, to make sure that you're delivering those applications to them in the right way, making sure that everything's patched, everything's controlled, and everything can be supported. So unless there are any more questions, that's where we will finish the session for today. I can see Andy, isn't it, at the back there? Andy works for Dell, spends his whole life going around these events, delivering all of that, the display with all the kit on. So you'll probably see him over in the back right-hand corner if you get a chance to go and have a look at everything that Dell's got on offer. Thank you very much.